Singapore. A tiny red dot on the map, yet it holds the economic lifeline of major powers around the world, from the United States to Germany, from India to Australia. These countries may look strong and independent, but behind the scenes, they rely heavily on Singapore to survive. How can a country smaller than New York City have this much power? In this video, we're uncovering 10 countries that simply cannot function without Singapore. Some of the connections are shocking. Stay till the end. You won't believe how China and the United States both need this island nation to stay afloat. Imagine this. Over 20% of Australia's sea trade, including coal, wine, minerals, and raw materials, passes through one narrow maritime path, the Singapore Strait. This isn't just a shipping lane. It's the lifeline for Australian exports to Asia, Europe, and beyond. If Singapore's port operations were disrupted, Australia's global exports could be stranded at sea, causing immediate economic shockwaves. But the connection runs deeper. Singapore is a crucial military partner for Australia. Every year, thousands of Australian troops train on Singaporean soil, taking advantage of facilities and environments unavailable back home. In a region riddled with geopolitical tension, Singapore acts as a stabilizing force, keeping Australia's trade routes open and its military prepared. If Singapore's maritime traffic halts even for a day, Australia's economy would feel the impact within hours. From delayed shipments to rising costs, the ripple effects would be felt in every corner of the country. For Australia, Singapore isn't just a partner, it's a gateway to the world and a shield in uncertain times. Germany may be Europe's industrial titan, but its access to Asia runs through Singapore's hyper-efficient ports. As one of the world's busiest transshipment hubs, Singapore handles a significant portion of Germany's exports to and imports from Asia, making it a vital link in the global supply chain. Luxury vehicles, precision machinery, and chemical components, cornerstones of German industry, all flow through Singapore's trade veins. In fact, over 2,000 German companies operate in Singapore, using it as their regional headquarters to coordinate business across Southeast Asia. Even more, German banks and financial institutions rely on Singapore's stable financial system as their gateway into Southeast Asia, facilitating billions in investments and trade financing every year. And the Port of Hamburg? It has a direct logistics alliance with Singapore to minimize delays and maximize output, ensuring that goods move seamlessly between Europe and Asia. Without Singapore, Germany's access to Asia would choke, crippling billions in trade and disrupting the supply chains that power German manufacturing and exports. Every year, billions of dollars are sent from Indian workers in Singapore to families across India. These remittances are a lifeline for millions, supporting not just daily expenses but also building homes, funding education, and driving small businesses in towns and villages. But the connection goes even deeper. Singapore is one of India's top sources of foreign direct investment, especially in real estate, logistics, and digital infrastructure. Major Indian tech startups and infrastructure projects often rely on Singaporean capital and expertise to scale up. Singapore also acts as a crucial financial hub for Indian companies, providing access to global markets and investment opportunities. Many Indian firms list on the Singapore Exchange to attract international investors. On the trade front, most of India's cargo ships rely on Singapore's port for international access. The Port of Singapore is a vital transshipment hub, connecting Indian goods to markets in Southeast Asia, East Asia, and beyond. If India were cut off from Singapore, the impact would be immediate and severe, a ripple effect that could paralyze India's middle class, disrupt its booming tech sector, and stall the country's expanding economy. Think of Samsung, LG, and SK Hynix, South Korea's global giants leading the world in semiconductors, smartphones, and cutting-edge electronics. Their global operations hinge on Singapore's world-class logistics ecosystem, which acts as a vital hub for shipping microchips, displays, and finished electronics to every corner of the globe. Singapore's advanced port facilities and efficient customs processes ensure that South Korean products reach international markets quickly and reliably, giving Korean companies a competitive edge. Add to that, South Korea imports refined oil, petrochemicals, and even specialty chemicals from Singapore, all of which are essential to powering its manufacturing, automotive, and tech industries. Singapore is also a major financial gateway for Korean firms. Korean investors and conglomerates funnel capital through Singapore to hedge risk, access global banking services, and tap into ASEAN's fast-growing markets. Many Korean startups and tech companies set up regional headquarters in Singapore, using it as a launchpad for expansion into Southeast Asia. In today's digital age, Korea's tech empire is only as strong as its Singapore connection. Without it, the flow of goods, capital, and innovation would slow to a crawl. Indonesia shares a border with Singapore, but economically it's more than just neighbors. They're codependent. A large share of Indonesia's exports, like palm oil, coal, and electronics, are routed through Singapore's ports. And with Singapore as Indonesia's top foreign investor, the relationship gets even deeper. Hundreds of thousands of Indonesian workers in Singapore send remittances that keep entire local economies alive. Disrupt Singapore's access, and Indonesia loses both its trading muscle and economic fuel. After Brexit, the UK needed a new anchor in Asia, and Singapore stepped up. British banks run massive operations out of Singapore, managing funds across ASEAN. Military presence? Yes, the United Kingdom still stations troops in Singapore, part of its five-power defense arrangement. With free trade agreements and digital partnerships, Singapore is the United Kingdom's bridge to Asia's future. Without Singapore, the UK's Asian strategy post-Brexit would collapse into confusion. Japan has no domestic oil, but almost all its oil imports pass through Singapore. Any disruption in Singapore's ports, and Japan's energy supply is in immediate danger. Over 1,000 Japanese companies are headquartered in Singapore, managing operations across Southeast Asia. Add in tech collaborations on AI, robotics, and green energy. Japan needs Singapore not just for oil, but for its future. Without Singapore, Japan faces an energy crisis and an innovation vacuum. The US has aircraft carriers stationed in Japan, but Singapore is its main logistics hub in the Indo-Pacific. From here, the US Navy maintains balance and security in the South China Sea. American tech giants, Google, Facebook, Amazon, they run their regional operations out of Singapore. And over 4,000 US companies use Singapore for finance, law, and trade across Asia. If the US lost Singapore, its entire Indo-Pacific presence could unravel. Malaysia and Singapore are tied together in one of the most unique relationships in the world. Malaysia supplies water to Singapore, while Singapore provides electricity access, investment, and jobs to over 300,000 Malaysians. If this delicate balance is disturbed, both countries would suffer, but Malaysia would collapse faster. Singapore isn't just Malaysia's neighbor, it's its economic heart valve. China's global financial ambitions hinge on Singapore. Why? Because Singapore is the second largest offshore yuan trading hub, second only to Hong Kong. Singapore also plays a key role in the Belt and Road Initiative, managing Southeast Asia's infrastructure funds. Even Chinese tech titans like Tencent, Huawei, and Alibaba choose Singapore to bypass Western sanctions and regulatory risks. China's global financial ambitions hinge on Singapore. Why? Because Singapore is the second largest offshore yuan trading hub, second only to Hong Kong. Singapore also plays a key role in the Belt and Road Initiative, managing Southeast Asia's infrastructure funds. Even Chinese tech titans like Tencent, Huawei, and Alibaba choose Singapore to bypass Western sanctions and regulatory risks. Without Singapore, China's financial globalization would hit a dead end. In a world of superpowers, Singapore is the quiet kingmaker. It doesn't flex muscles, but it controls the flow of goods, money, and influence. These 10 countries, some of the largest in the world, depend on a city-state smaller than Los Angeles. Isn't it time we saw Singapore for what it truly is? One of the most powerful countries in the world without ever firing a shot. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more exciting content.